Good evening, everybody, and welcome to The Fire You Can't Put Out. It is another week of I speaking, and then after me, Kevin is going to speak. Next week, we will be on a more normal platform. As many of you know, Kevin has been out of the country doing some work, but he will return to our good graces next week, and we will begin the roundtable discussion, as it were. But it's hard for me to go a week without doing this show, because I really do enjoy opening the mic, and I really do enjoy having these at least points to vent. Thank you again for supporting The Fire You Can't Put Out, and we want to thank the good people over at Open Sky Radio for all of their support, technical and otherwise. That said, let's get started. I want to talk about first the mighty Christie, and I call him that for just follow me on this. Frank Lautenberg, one of the longest-serving Democratic senators, actually he may be the longest-serving Democratic senator, and the last World War II vet in the Congress, died this past Monday. He was from New Jersey, and he was one of the most consequential senators that we've ever had. There was a time when on airplanes people were allowed to smoke. Now, those of us who have flown in the last 20 years, that seems very strange. It seems very foreign to us. There's no way there was a time where that ever happened. But there was a time where when planes were built, they were actually built with an extra vent that blew out of the back of the plane, just like the afterburners do, or the engine. I think afterburners is it's a military, it's an F-16 term. I don't think it's a commercial jet term, but you know what I'm saying. You know, there was a place for the spent fuel to blast out of the back of the plane. There was also a place for the smoke to blast out of the back of the plane. And it was Frank Lautenberg, it was his bill that got smoking banned on commercial flights. Now, when it first happened, it was largely welcomed by pretty much everybody, with the exception of long international flights. A lot of smokers' rights groups said, well, on plane flights that are longer than 6 hours, you can't do that to us. We're smokers. So at first it was just the shorter flights, or what we call a relatively shorter flight, where they weren't allowed to smoke. And then later on it became all flights. And as we know it today, it's you can't smoke on an airplane ever. And it seems strange, but there was ever a time, and I've flown quite a bit. It seems to me that it's strange that there was ever a time where you could go into that fuselage where everybody's cramped in there and smoke. In this day and age, we've now seen smoking banned in most states in restaurants and bars. He also got the drinking age raised to 21, which I'll tell you what, as a young buck in my 20s, I started drinking probably before I should have, and I think a lot of people did. But in hindsight now, as a 35-year-old man, I said, yeah, you know what, I probably didn't need to. And it really is a good idea that the drinking age got raised. And he did a lot of things. ADP, if you get a paycheck and it says ADP on it, that's Frank Lautenberg. But I'm getting off track. Back to Christie. So this was a New Jersey senator, and he died at age 89 in his home, which left Christie, the governor of New Jersey, in a very precarious position. So the question was, is he going to have an election this November when, by the way, he plans on running for re-election? And right now he's an incredibly popular governor and a very high-profile Republican. Or does he appoint somebody and not hold the election until next year? Now, that's what the Republicans wanted him to do, because that would have put a Republican in that very strong Democratic seat for about 18 months. That's what the Republicans wanted. The Democrats said, no, have it this November, have it run at the same time as the governor's election. But here was the problem. Cory Booker, Newark Mayor Cory Booker, is widely expected to fill that seat, to fill that Senate seat vacated by Lautenberg. And Christie, I think he's going to get elected no matter what. But what he did not want was he did not want to be on the same ballot with people who were going to be turning out to vote for Cory Booker. He didn't want to be on that same ballot because I think he felt like with such a strong Democratic turnout that he wouldn't have wanted. By the way, he's gonna win. He's very popular. I myself have a Chris Christie problem. I guess I love his, he's very much a very faithful Republican, but I like he's got kind of a punk rock attitude, and I like that a lot. He's very cavalier at times, but what we saw after Hurricane Sandy is that he does have a heart beating in his chest, and he very much loves New Jersey. So I don't think he wanted to run on the same ballot with the people that were going to be very strongly turning out to fill Lautenberg's seat and voting for Cory Booker. So on Tuesday, I don't know if it was Tuesday or Wednesday, Tuesday I believe, he came out, he gave a press conference, and he said that a special election is going to be held in October. I believe the second week of October, and it's going to be held on a Wednesday, and it's going to cost the state $12 million. $12 million that the state of New Jersey does not have. Obviously, nobody likes this plan. There really wasn't a good reason. See, the Republicans want Chris Christie to run for president, and in my opinion, there's a very strong chance that I think he could win the presidency, depending on what the Democratic field looks like in 2016. I think, with respect to popular Republicans, and there's really not many of them these days, I think he could win the election in 2016 if he keeps on his current path. So they say, well, Chris Christie is very strong. Chris Christie is very, very much fearless, and he's a leader. But what he proved to us this week is that's not necessarily the case. Because see, he took the easy way out, quite honestly, and he did this as a self-serving move. There's no other way to see it. So with him having the election 20 days before he has the governor's re-election, he could have held them both on the same day and it wouldn't cost any more money, but he's holding a special election 20 days before the governor's race. And then that's when he's going to, and then 20 days later, he's going to run for re-election. With respect to 2016, and obviously it seems almost too early to talk about it being 2013 right now, but if they're going to put forward somebody fearless, I would say that Chris Christie is very quickly becoming weak right now. So anyway, we'll pay attention to what's going to happen with this race, because it's a very important race. It's a very strong Democratic seat, and I feel very confident that a Democrat is going to win that seat. Hearings were held on Capitol Hill this week. A lot of teabaggers, and I understand that that's a very nasty term, and they don't particularly care for it, and that's fine, because I don't really see teabaggers as real people. But just the same, they were testifying up on Capitol Hill about what they're calling the IRS scandal, where conservative groups were targeted if they had Tea Party or conservative or Constitution or all the rest inside their names. And they were up on the Hill, some of them very emotional, some of them crying, blah, 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 yada, yada, oh, I can't believe this is my country. Here's the thing. If you've seen a teabagger rally, if you've driven by one, if you've seen photos of one on the internet, they say the most awful, visceral, horrible, hateful, and at times racist things about the president. But you don't have to hear the words coming out of their mouth. You can just take a look at their signs, where they're drawing pictures of the president with Hitler mustaches, bones through his nose, calling Obamacare elderly genocide, okay? And so for them to go up on the Hill right now, for them to say, oh my goodness, I can't believe that this is my country, what has happened to my beautiful country, nobody's buying it. You to say, I can't believe, yeah, you can. Because you've suggested that your country is actually doing worse than that. Elderly genocide? You've suggested that we're doing way terrible things, and then say, oh my goodness, I can't believe this is my country. Yes, you can. Yes, you can, because you've said awful, terrible things about it. And of course, the word is still impeachment. It is still very much impeachment. Oh, President Obama, you're just embroiled in scandals right now. Oh, impeachment. Impeachment's the only thing that's going to put you in your place. Here's what I don't think a lot of people and I don't care what side of the political spectrum you're on, here's what a lot of people don't understand about impeachment. Impeachment is an indictment. So to impeach somebody, you're saying that they have committed a crime. They've broken a law. If you disagree with me, disagree with something I say, you can't impeach me because it's not illegal for me to say something that I think, unless I say something like, i.e., I want to kill the president, something like that. Well, yeah, in that case, of course, I'm going to get a visit from the Secret Service. I'm probably going to get a visit from the CIA. You say something like that. So we've got free speech, but there are limits to free speech. You can't yell fire at a crowded theater and things of that nature. But just to disagree with the president, and they've been calling, some of the more extreme groups have been calling for impeachment since before he was even elected, since before he even won the Democratic nomination. So it's pretty clear to me that people have no idea what impeachment means. The president has to commit a crime. There are quite a few things coming up right now. I think the drone program, in my opinion, the drone program is illegal, and if it's not, then it should be legal. But here's the thing. Bush used drones as well, so it might be legal. John Yoo and some of his legal team may have went ahead to Congress with some bills that made those things legal. We're looking into that right now. But with respect to these teabaggers, screaming impeachment, impeachment is an indictment. And until the president commits a crime, you're not going to impeach him. But if you want to impeach him, let me just say, go right ahead, because it worked out so well when you did it with Clinton. So fabulously well. As if you guys don't look far enough to the right now, go ahead. Impeach the president. I dare you. And by the way, teabaggers, quit crying. Nobody cares. Okay? You lied on your applications to get 501(c) status. You lied on your applications. You said that you weren't involved in political activity. And 99.9% of you are involved in nothing but political activity. You're not social welfare programs. And that's what makes you a 501(c)(4) is you are a social welfare program. I would love to see a teabagger say the word social or welfare without foaming at the mouth. It's not going to happen. A couple of years ago, the FDA approved cloned animals. Now, cloning animals has been going on for some time, but what they did a couple of years ago was they approved clone animals, after doing some of their own research, they approved clone animals to be introduced into the food supply. Of course, at that time they said, well, it's going to take a few years for it to implement, but, we will clearly label, what's a cloned animal and what's not. Of course, the meat industry fought that, and they fought it pretty hard. And eventually got the Congress and the FDA to allow them to not label what meat was cloned and what wasn't. I've been eating meat pretty much all of my life. I cut back on the kinds of meat I eat back in the early 2000s just for health reasons. But I remember hearing the story about the cloned animals being introduced into the food supply, and it was at that time that I said, you know what? I'm going to become a vegetarian. And I said it out loud, and I said it to a lot of people, and I said, but of course I'm going to hold off for a few years because they said it's going to take a couple of years to get cloned animals into the food supply. And by the way, they might be introduced into the food supply now. And maybe I've already began eating them. No matter. I decided this last weekend to go ahead and finally go all the way through with my plan. And as of today, the first week of June 2013, I am in the process of becoming a vegetarian. Over the last week, I have been slowly phasing meat out of my diet, and over the next number of months, I plan on 100% phasing it out, and then of course going completely vegetarian. I'm not going vegan. That that may come up later. See, it's probably completely safe to eat a cloned animal. 20, 30 years down the road after we've been eating cloned animals, there'll be a special news report about how we've been eating cloned animals all these years, and it didn't hurt anybody, and it was completely fine. That's probably what's going to happen. just in case, I really don't want any part of it. I've been kind of grossed out by the fact that I actually eat meat. But I just kept doing it because when you do something your whole life, you just keep doing it. You don't necessarily need a reason. You just keep doing it. And I go, well, I'm eating it for dietary reasons, and I cut back to chicken. And I said, oh, I'm only eating boneless, skinless, chicken meat. And as I was pondering it this past weekend, and then phasing out meat over this past week, I got a call from my brother, who is on the run from the law right now, and he called me on his break from his new job, where he is working at a chicken processing plant. I don't love my brother. Well, quite honestly, I don't love any of my brothers. I've had a terrible falling out from all of them because they've all either done time in prison or they're doing time in prison, or in the case of this one brother, we'll just call him Dick for safety's sake. That's not his real name. So when Dick calls me, he says, well, I got a job. I got a great job making $19 an hour. And I said, look, you're on the run from the law right now. Who the hell would hire you? He said, oh, a chicken processing plant in Arkansas. Arkansas, by the way, is not the state where he's wanted by the law. So he's run to another state. And I said, now wait a minute. If you are collecting a check, you're back on the grid again. They're gonna find you. Aren't you afraid of being found? And he said, no. The place that I'm working for, which by the way processes chicken for Burger King, they process chicken for McDonald's also, but McDonald's requests that their chicken not be grown with hormones. But every other company doesn't seem to care. So all the chickens are grown with hormones. And so his job is, of course, to carve up the chickens. He told me that we'd have chickens go from egg to slaughter in about 3 weeks, and every one of them is fully pumped up with steroids. And then he told me about the kill room. He goes, no, it's very cool. It's very humane, the kill room. What they do is they tie their feet and they hang them upside down. Already, I don't know about the rest of you, but I am completely romanticized. He says, and then they go through a door where there's music playing, and it calms them down. Like I said, very sweet. He says, and then they just get a really quick electric shock, and it stuns them. So they feel no pain. Well, I'm pretty sure they're still freaked out. I don't care what music you're playing. You just shock them. He says, and then while they are in a state of shock, they slit their throats. He says it's very cool. It's very humane. He said the worst thing, obviously, is that room looks like a murder took place. Actually, a murder did take place. And then he went on to tell me how many chickens they process a day. He goes, we process about a little over 1 million chickens a day, out of that one plant. And I go, no, a murder did happen. About 1 million murders happened. And that's very cold. And he obviously, he didn't see anything wrong with it. A job is a job to him. And it was at that point where I got a call from Dick, who I don't care for, but who I'm very much related to. And he told me about what they're doing. Chicken's really the last meat that I've been eating over the last number of years. And it was at that point that it finally cemented it for me. I know that there's tons of videos, snuff videos from animal houses and the like, that show those things. And it's nothing new. But all of a sudden, it just hit so close to home for me. And I said, you know what? I don't want to contribute to that anymore. About this time last year, I decided to go on a diet, and I lost 40 pounds. And over the last number of months, I've been cutting out sugar, and I've been cutting back on alcohol, and I've been exercising more, and I've been doing all these things that are good for me. And really, vegetarianism was the last piece of the puzzle for me. And this last week, I decided to finally take that leap. Who knows how it's going to go over the next number of weeks? Of course, Christmas and Thanksgiving are really going to be no picnic. But I feel like it's something that I need to do at this time. And if anyone else is thinking about it, quite honestly, I would like to say, give it a shot. I mean, who knows how it's going to go? But I'm pretty proud of the fact that I'm actually doing it. I do want to say this in the open air that Kevin, the gentleman I do this show with, was part of my inspiration. for wanting to do this. But he wasn't the only one. There's quite a few stories going on with Monsanto. My segment's almost over here, so obviously we'll have to pick up on Monsanto and some of these other things next week that I wanted to talk about. And there's some more things going on with the CIA, and there's some more things going on with the IRS. And of course, we just found out that the Obama administration's been tapping our phone calls. And by the way, using Bush's policy, but hey, it's still not okay that he's doing it. So, of course, we'll get into this over the next time we get together. But I do want to say that he was an inspiration. What's going on with Monsanto was an inspiration. Hearing from Dick, thinking about it over so many years, and then over this last week, I finally decided to just pull the rope and say, yeah, that's it. I'm ready for this. So far feeling good. I'm feeling pretty happy about it. I want to go ahead and hand the microphone over to my friend Kevin. I want to thank all of you for your support. I want to thank you for listening in to Melvin's segment this week on The Fire You Can't Put Out. Thank you once again for your support. Thank you to the good folks over at Open Sky Radio. And we couldn't do it without you. Everybody, catch you next week when we're back on for a more normal show. Later on.
Hey, thank you very much, Melvin. Welcome to everyone to the Kevin section of this week's The Fire You Can't Put Out. I am indeed way over here in Hong Kong, and actually quite incredible that we can be doing a show like this across the Pacific. So right now, because we're still kind of fighting a little bit of technical problems, and so what we need to do is we need to tape our individual segments, and I do have the equipment to put it together over here in Hong Kong. So hopefully next week we will figure out whatever we need to figure out, and we can actually be doing a show together. And I think it's I thought about how to actually do this, and I have to say that I have a lot more respect to a lot of the talkers. The Mike Malloy and Randy Rhodes. I have a lot more respect for them because it's actually really hard to put together a show like this that you just by yourself talking. And yes, I think they are talking to somebody in their studio, but and I'm just talking by myself. I'm not looking at anybody right now. And but still, I mean, it is a really hard thing to just carry a show by yourself. So there are a few things to talk about, and one of it, of course, is I need to welcome Melvin to the vegetarian whatever. I have a lot of I talk to people a lot over here, and there is a reason for it because I found it really tough to be a vegetarian over here in Hong Kong, but let me talk about it a little bit later. Since we haven't been really doing the show for the past several weeks, there are a piece of news that I really want to bring up that I don't know why everybody is so happy about. It is that Michele Bachmann is not going to run again. I guess it is kind of good news because, of course she is crazy, and she is, I don't think she's not good for the country, let's put it that way. And it seems to me she has no idea what she's saying. Pretty much everything that comes out of her mouth is either outrageous or just flat out crazy. So I think it's a good thing for everybody, definitely a good thing for people who are on the opposite side of her in terms of politics. But her getting out is also, I think, good for the Republican Party because I'm pretty sure within the higher echelon of the Republican Party, some people are wondering, what the hell is up with her and how do we get rid of her because she is just being crazy and that's going to be a problem for the rest of us, etc., etc. So, but I don't know why people, especially people on our side, are happy about this because, well, number one, I think it will be a lot sweeter to defeat her in an actual election than just her getting out. Well, that's one. But number two, you got to think, and as conservative or as whatever her district is, you got to wonder what the hell is going on over there, because if you think about it, there is actually an entire congressional district that would actually vote for this person, and this person is so obviously out of her mind, and she has been elected multiple times to represent this district. So what does that say about at least a congressional district of our country? I mean, what about common sense? What about just sense? Not even common sense. So you gotta wonder about that. And the fact that she is getting out, I guess, like I said, is positive, but there are a lot of really negative things that entails, by her just being there for the past so many years. And she's not the only one. There's always our favorite, Louis Gohmert, and there are also several, King from Iowa. She's like abhorrent. He would it's just flat out, nonsensical, or just flat out being racist and saying crazy stuff. So anyway, the other piece of news is I think the likely Democratic challenger who actually had a chance to defeat her is going to bow out because the only purpose he was running is to defeat Michele Bachmann, and now that she's gone, he's not going to run again, and that district is going to stay Republican. So I don't know what's going to pan out for this particular district, but it's really weird because I live in the state of Washington, and we always have that. Our district has Kathy McMorris, who is pretty terrible as a representative, but that's she's going to be it for a while, at least, unless she wants to get out. Because our district, Eastern Washington, is just going to be red. So there's nothing you can do about that. Well, not that you have nothing to do about that. We have nothing to do about that. We can always work on, convincing other people to not vote for her. But, being in a blue state, and we always have to deal with congressional districts that are just going to be solid red, and I guess they have the same problem going on in Minnesota. Minnesota is pretty, collectively is pretty blue, but they do have a district that has Michele Bachmann for the congressperson for the longest time. So go figure. So the other thing I probably, when we come back as a conversation, Melvin and I, and maybe a guest, is the ongoing thing about the administration listening into phone conversations and emails and etc. And different corporations, Facebook, Microsoft, Apple, they are cooperating with the government on that. And, we will probably have, we'll probably have a longer conversation on that, because this is not, this is going to be a very tough nut to crack. And I think, but I do have to say that we have to be very consistent, because we didn't like that when Bush was in office. And we really cannot say, if we are sensible, we really cannot say that, well, because now it's Obama doing it, it's okay. It's not okay. I do agree with the president when he says, well, it is a tough choice between security and privacy. I do agree with that. But overall, it is going to be a very negative thing, because we are sacrificing privacy for security. And it is one of these really serious adult choices we have to make, I think. Overall, it's going to be negative, like I said, but in reality, I think it is inevitable that we have to do this. And at the same time, the tough part about this is, I guess we have to gather intelligence. I guess there might have to be something like this going on. But at the same time, we have to actually trust the people who do it to have that stay a very limited operation. And that's a very tough call, because it goes down the road of, well, how much you can trust the government, how much you can trust the intelligence community, if it is indeed a community, to do this without violating, our privacy. And, I look forward to talking about this with Melvin, because I think we have a chance to disagree here a little bit. I do think this is necessary a little bit, but, then we would go down the road of how much you can trust the government and blah, blah, blah. And, in terms of this, I don't think we should trust the government a whole lot, because they have not been, the most, trustworthy or most diligent, shall I say, in terms of just listening in to what we say in the past. And, why would we keep trusting them to have that kind of power and that kind of ability? So anyway, I don't know. I mean, I probably need to talk with Melvin and maybe, like I said, a guest on this, because I don't have the answer in front of me. It's one of these things that, it's you can actually say that it is a necessary evil in this day and age. But then again, how much are we? It's also have something to do with how much are we willing to be freaked out by terrorism, by stuff like September 11th, by stuff like the Boston bombing. And one can always think that well, wouldn't it be nice if the guys who perpetrated the Boston bombing was seriously listened into by the FBI before they do it. And but one can never really think about it, go at it like this, because what if, right? So anyway, I look forward to that discussion. Melvin was talking about him becoming a vegetarian, and I really am really happy for him that he came to that conclusion. And like I said, I actually mentioned that in the show that I talk at length about vegetarianism. It's not something that I want to really talk to people about, because I understand that most people, at least most people I know, and most of my family member, actually I don't think none of my family member are vegetarians. And because right now I'm at the point that I really think it is a moral choice. It is a moral decision. I'm huge on animal rights, and I think the struggle really is. I have pets. I have 2 cats, and I love them like they are my child. And they're animals, right? Why would I love my cats, but at the same time, I would kill other animals and eat them? And the really silly thing stuck in the middle is, well, the cats are carnivores. They do eat meat. And I can't ask my cats to be vegetarians, because they are not. They're just, by nature, they're not. But, for the longest time, I struggled with myself. Why would I, on one hand, treat one class of animal like they're my child, like they're my children, and then I treat another bunch of animal like they can be freely be rid of, and I consume their meat. It doesn't make any sense to me, and I think I felt that I need to inject a little bit. I mean, I've been struggling, on this for a while, and of course, the death of my old cat really kind of really nudged me into the vegetarian direction. But I also felt that the moment of decision that I switched is, I feel like I need to have a little bit, I need to have total I can't say the word, consistency on how I look at this, how I look at, nature, and how I look at walking, breathing creatures that roam the earth with us. So, but that's not an easy thing to talk about with people, because there is a judgment. Well, it is a moral stand to me. So inevitably, there is a judgment here. So I don't really want to talk to people a lot about this. I mean, of course, like Melvin, he is. Melvin's good guy, so we did have conversations about this. But fellow vegetarians or even vegans, we can talk freely about this because we made that leap, I think. And by saying leap, of course, that's kind of a judgment thing. That's kind of judgmental, because, making a leap means that you cross over certain boundary or whatever. That means, all may kind of means that you achieve certain and I don't want to go down that road. So, but words are words. It's hard to not to use any words that have no judgment, judgmental elements in it. But it's fellow vegetarians, fellow vegans. I have no problem talking, straight talk on this. But for friends who are still eat meat and consume meats, and family members, I really don't want to talk at length about this, because it seems like every time I talk about this, even though I'm taking a stand, I'm still thinking I'm judging them and I don't think that it is in my place. Even though I feel very strongly about it, I'm not willing to judge people on those terms, because it is unfair. That meat eating has it's very cultural sometimes. And what do I mean by that? Well, I'm in Hong Kong right now, and I'm learning. This is my almost been here 3 weeks, and I've been learning how to deal with this. But my first couple of days just really hellish, because it is really hard to be a vegetarian here in Hong Kong. Everything here has meat in it. Even if you just get a bowl of plain noodles, sometimes they sprinkle meat in it, or they would have meat sauce in it. Case in point is there's one night I was just in this restaurant. I just looked at the menu. Well, first of all, restaurants here, food here is insane. Actually, I was a vegetarian last time I was here, but, times before I wasn't a vegetarian. So, it was a whole lot easier, and I had the opportunity to enjoy food that I grew up with and I haven't had for a long time. But now that I'm a vegetarian, I gotta say it is crazy. It's crazy hard, because, there are these, I don't know if there is an equivalent in U.S., but they call these, I'm going to say Cantonese, because I don't think there's a English equivalent. There are these places called cha chan tang, right? It's basically, if I translate it straight, like direct, it doesn't ring quite correctly. It's called tea restaurant, but they serve everything. They serve Chinese food. They serve kind of fusion. Let's see. Here's one thing. Fusion food is nothing new. These places serve food that has Chinese influences, British influences, European influences, and everything that you can throw in. They serve food, just fusion food that you really won't think about as fusion. As in, the modern fusion is like, something special. It's actually not really special. So, one of the things that I really like is like French toast, but it's not the French toast you see in the U.S. So anyway, French toast. Well, what's French toast here is, in most cases, is 2 pieces of bread, and they have peanut butter in the middle, and they deep fry the whole thing. And then after that, they put butter and maple syrup on top. So you think about it, that thing is, 4,000 calories. Well, anyway, these places so easily menu at these places, and not just the menu you can see underneath the piece of glass they have on tables. Menus underneath the glass would easily have like a couple hundred choices of food in there, and then they would have like menus plastered on walls, special, selection A, selection B, set lunch or set dinner, stuff like that. And they would have like dozens and dozens of different Chinese noodle soup. It's crazy. I mean, it's insane. So the first couple of nights, first couple of days I was here, I look at the menu. Out of 500 things, maybe only 2 or 3 are really, I wouldn't even say vegetarian, because one would never know, because they tend to cook a lot of things in lard over here. So one would never know if it is vegetarian or even vegan. Vegan, don't even think about it. I would just say there's meatless. There is no meat in it. So out of a menu of like 500 things that you can order, maybe 2 or 3 that you can eat. So, for the first couple of days and nights, just complete hell, hungry. Because I just don't know how to deal with it. And, after a week or 2, I'm getting a lot better at this, because because I know how to order. Sometimes you might ask them not to do certain things. You can always order something, but sometimes some dishes is out. If it is like Chinese barbecue pork and soy sauce chicken on rice, you're not going to tell them to get rid of the meat. Then what's the point, right? But there are certain dishes that meat is only, beef or pork or chicken is only part of the whole thing. You can tell them to, okay, can you take out the meat? Or like Korean. I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with Korean food. Bibimbap. There are Korean restaurants over here, and you can tell them to take out the beef, and they will do that for you. So they would do, a lot of these eateries in Hong Kong. The really great thing is, you can basically order whatever you want. You can ask them to do whatever you want, but there are dishes that they just can't get rid of the meat. So anyway, I'm rambling a little bit, but it is incredible, and there are vegetarian places here, right? And they're the Buddhist restaurants that only serve. I can pretty much say it's vegan. I'm pretty sure it's vegan because they are Buddhist establishments, but they tend to be, because they have to make it tasty, it tends to be very oily and very high in sodium, I would say. So it's not completely healthy either to eat at those places a lot. But I'm getting a lot better at this surviving as a vegetarian in Hong Kong thing. But I really have to say, not that I want to do commercials or whatever. Who are we? But I really miss Trader Joe's, because Trader Joe's, they do take care of vegans and vegetarians very nicely. They do have boxes that have the logo, the label, the V's and the vegetarian label. But a lot really has to do with I think the traditional Chinese thing, if I have it right, is, and this goes way back when, killing an animal is a big deal. And, back then, when, when everybody's poor and, when resources are not that readily available, killing animal, especially, we're not even talking about, chickens and ducks, of course, but, slaughtering a cow or a pig, it's a big deal, because, a cow is just completely another story, because I think, my grandmother on my father's side, just did not eat, beef, because, a lot of people believe that cows, actually have, emotions. And they tell me stories about when they slaughter a cow, the cow actually cry and beg them, and kneel down and beg them not to kill it. So stories like that. Well, I've been hearing stories like that since I was a kid. So I've been struggling for a long time about this vegetarian thing. But stories like that, and then go back to having meat in food. Well, let me put it this way: food is only valuable when there's meat in it, because meat is just not always available. And that got kind of carried over. Now we just kill animal left and right. We have like animal, we have farms and these horrible thingies that we're doing. And meat is not, it's just all over the place and so readily available. But I think that thinking, especially in Asia and especially in Chinese society in Hong Kong. Mainly as Chinese society, it still doesn't change. So every damn thing has meat in it, and I don't know how we can change that. I guess there are vegetarians, there are vegans over here, and there are vegetarians or vegan restaurants around here, but just it's harder to find and it's expensive. And hummus and all that Mediterranean stuff that we enjoy in the U.S. So readily available and is so reasonable in terms of price. It's really expensive over here. It's a different story. So that is not really an option. So, but I think this, I need to say that this thinking and this society need to change, because how we treat animal is not right. I'm just going to flat out say it. Just is not right. And I understand. I understand free range. I understand slaughtering animal when we need it. But right now, how we do it, it's just wrong. And I do believe in karma, and all that stuff is going to come back to just bite us in the what. I truly believe that. And and the inconsistency too is really doesn't make sense to me. We over here people when cats and dogs are being abused brutally. I mean, that's another story. It just there's some stuff over here is just crazy. They just people with psychological problems, they abuse cats and dogs, and people would go crazy over here, rightly so. One incident, they found a cat dead, and was brutalized, and the whole town would just go insane. But then turn around, we put that beef or chicken or whatever in our mouth, like it is a totally different thing. It's not. It is a life. It is a walking, breathing being. Before we take that away from it. And I don't know. I mean, am I off the deep end on this? I don't know, but that's how I feel. There's no other way I can go at it. So, well, anyway, wow, it's already, I can't believe it. It's almost half an hour just babbling. So, well, hopefully next time we will get to talk together, have a kind of a virtual round table across the Pacific, and we can actually talk with each other. But there's always a chance that we can't put that together, so we have to do this individual thing again. But bear with us. We're trying to work things out, and I will be back in the United States, in the next month or so. So hopefully we can go back to our old format. But if we can't, just bear with us. So, well, until next time, thank you very much again for listening, and thank you very much, Melvin, for recording your segment and bearing with me on this one. Well, thanks again for listening, and I hope to talk to you again soon. Thanks, bye.